When Cup comes back, he gets 7 targets: 12, 7, 7, 7, 8, 7, 9, 8, 11, 8, and 6. Hello and welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football Freaks. I'm Jason, he's Vaz, and today we are continuing our series of debates on players at the same position that we rank differently. Today we are talking about Puka Nacua and Jaylen Waddle, and Vaz, you've got Nacua, and once again, in this particular case, it seems like I'm fighting you as well as everyone else, because I know that common knowledge or common groupthink has Puka Nacua ahead of Waddle, but I'm going to do my best to have Waddle lifted up at least even or higher than him. But let's start with your argument on why you believe that Puka is valued or should be valued higher than Waddle in Dynasty formats.
Sure. So I'm fully aware that I'm a little bit high on Puka in comparison to the community.
Even higher.
Oh yeah, I'm considerably high on him. But like the reason for it is I have to just trust what I saw last year. I know he was a 4th round NFL draft pick.
Oh, wait, quick, before you continue, where do you have Puka in your Dynasty rankings? What number is he? Because you said that you said you're higher than the norm, so I just want to get the number out there.
Yeah, he's my 5th rated receiver. I think I have him like maybe 205 overall in the Dynasty startup, and I think he's like end of the 2nd round consensus.
Okay. So after the big 3, and then who's the 4th for you?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay, and then Puka. Okay, Puka. Go ahead. Yeah. Just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah. And I have Puka and Amon-Ra back to back. Like I think they're interchangeable, but
okay.
I just like Puka better in my opinion, as more of a complete player. Like I think he can play outside as well as in the slot, and I think Amon-Ra is just more of a pure slot. I also, even though I think Amon-Ra, this is not an Amon-Ra video, but I know I just feel like they're comparable. So I know even though Amon-Ra, he's pretty good with he's very good yards after catch. I think Puka's even better. I think he has this size and he has the elusiveness and the ability to run after catch, and I think it's really, really phenomenal. I think he gets open very easily. He's proven already has fantastic hands. I mean, his numbers in his rookie year are just outstanding. Like even when Cup came back, he was clearly the number 1 option. Like even in the playoffs when things mattered most, he just blew. He just crushed. He just absolutely crushed. I think he had like 10 receptions for 200 yards or something like that in a game. Last season, he had 160 targets, 105 receptions, 1,500 yards, and only 6 touchdowns. So, like, even touchdown progression could increase his numbers next season. He proved so much in his rookie season, with breaking NFL records, that I have to like acknowledge how good he is. And his tape didn't lie in my mind. I saw an elite player. I saw a fantastic player. So I do expect his numbers to come down. And sure, it is a little bit worrisome that Matthew Stafford could retire in a couple seasons, but I think he's proven in his 1 season that he is this good. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he'll keep it up. And I think he's going to be an elite player. And he demands a lot of targets because he gets open so quickly and so easily. And then I don't want to talk too much, so I'll let you go ahead, but we'll get into Waddle afterward.
Okay. Yeah. And the first thing I'll say is I'm probably the lowest there is on Puka Nacua. So I've got Puka at 14 on mine. So you've got him at 5. I have him 14. We are miles apart. You're a little bit above consensus. I am way under on consensus. Why am I so low on Puka? The first thing I'll say is when Cooper Kupp was injured to start the season, Puka had double-digit targets in 4 out of those 5 games. 4 to 5 games, he had double-digit targets. When Cooper Kupp came back, he had double-digit targets twice the rest of the season. For the next 12 games, twice that he had double-digit targets. Did he make the most of it? Yes, he did. Is he the number 1 wide receiver ahead of Cooper Kupp now? Yes, I think everybody acknowledges that as well. And
Jason,
I'm sure. Yep.
Are you being a little bit choosy with that stat? Like, did he have like 8 or 9 receptions in a bunch of games?
He had no. These are targets, not receptions.
I mean,
Targets.
sorry, targets. Did he have 8 or 9 targets in a bunch of games? Like, are you being like kind of picky with those
No.
with that
Okay,
comment?
hey, let's list them off. So
All right.
when Cup comes back, he gets 7 targets,
Yeah.
12, 7, 7, 7, 8, 7, 9, 8, 11, 8, and 6. So
Okay.
it's not like it was a bunch of nines. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's considerably lower than when he started off with 15, 20, 7, 10, and 11. That's a significant difference in terms of targets with
Yeah.
Cup and without Cup.
Now, I can't do it for you. The inches we need are everywhere around us. What are you gonna do? Like!
Subscribe!
Now, I know Cup is getting up there in age as well. Who like I said, I am acknowledging that Puka's the future of the team, and I would imagine that if McVay or whoever their offensive coordinator is going to be is going to be smart enough to understand that that's the guy that you want to build around for the future. So yes, I acknowledge that, and I do acknowledge that. Yes, look at the numbers; they're undeniable, rookie record-breaking numbers all around. But does that mean that it's you know a sign of things to come? I'm just not as convinced on the hype behind that. Just because A happened, it doesn't mean that A happens again. It could be B, it could be C, it could be D. So I am expecting regression. I'm not expecting this to be every year for the rest of his career. I think it was a standout performance. Nothing against him, but I just can't imagine that he's going to do that again or improve on that for the years to come.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect him to have numbers that strong next season, but like, I mean, we're comparing him to Waddle here, who's had 2 years where he's barely broken 1,000 yards, like 1,014 and 1,015 yards in 2 of his 3 seasons, right? Um, he's the kind of receiver who gets like 70 receptions in a season, 75 receptions in a season. Whereas Puka, if you're playing in a PPR format, he's probably going to give you close to 100 receptions every season just based off where he plays. And, he plays from the slot. So he's going to be the main target for Stafford next season. I just see him as going to be a more productive option. He's younger. I don't think age is as big a factor because they're both very young. Waddle's 25. I think Puka's 23. So they're both very, very young. So age is not really that much of a factor. But I mean, like Waddle just signed his second contract. It's a huge contract, by the way. I think 3 years, like 80 something million, a massive, massive contract. So he's going to be in Miami for the next, 4 or 5 years.
And
But
you
he's
know
still
who's
playing
not
second.
is perhaps Tyreek Hill, because who knows
Perhaps.
if Tyreek retires after this season or after next season. So,
Yeah.
who's obviously the target monster there, but Waddle still gets his share of targets as well. But I think things can change if Hill is gone. And I think when Hill eventually does leave the team in whatever way, shape, or form, I think Waddle's clearly going to be their alpha, and they'll probably bring a beta in underneath him, right? They're not going to
Yeah.
find another alpha to replace Waddle, to come in over Waddle, especially when you look at the contract. So I think Waddle will be an alpha. I do wonder what's going to happen with Tua. Will Tua be their quarterback at that point, or will Tua be as good at that point? I do have questions about that, but I think with Hill, who knows? Maybe Hill just continues to play there for another 5 years. And if he were to, I think that's fine as well. I think Waddle's still okay in the situation, but who knows what happens with Hill? I think that could change things too.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're not wrong. Listen, Waddle's a very good player. I just think like he's really good from an NFL perspective. He stretches the field. He plays on the outside. He wins on the outside. He opens the passing game up for everybody else. It makes the running game work as well. He's a very good player, and he's what NFL teams want in a wide receiver. But you know what? Puka reminds me of like Michael Thomas, just a guy like an alpha that's just going to demand immense targets and a huge workload. He's going to put up massive fantasy production because he's used all over the field, intermediate routes, short routes, deep routes, everywhere. Huge yards after catch ability. I see immense potential, especially if you play in a PPR format. It's not a comparison for me. And then like you couple that with like the fact that like Cup is aging out. He's got Stafford who loves to like single in on one receiver over and over and over again. And I think Stafford's probably got 2 or 3 years left minimum. So like for the immediate future, I prefer Cup, and I'm not alone in that. I think like in the redraft rankings, I sorry, I said Cup, but I meant Puka.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think like even in the redraft communities rankings, Puka's going ahead of Waddle pretty by a noticeable margin. So like even for redraft, I prefer Puka, and then he is younger as well. So I think for dynasty wise, it's pretty easy for me.
Yeah, like I said, I know the consensus is high on Puka. For me, I guess I'm just one of those guys that I want to see it again, because to me the numbers in that first season, it didn't tell everything. I think there was a little bit of regression when Cooper Kupp came back. Although, I'm not taking anything away from Puka. He still did well for the rest of the season, but just not as good. I think it was a little bit exaggerated, and I think that's what people are seeing. The other thing I like about Waddle, and I don't know how many people remember this, but when Miami drafted Waddle, you got to remember that Waddle was a teammate of Tua's, right? The other guy that was a teammate of Tua's was the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in Devontae Smith. Okay. All those guys were in Alabama. They had like the amazing wide receiver room, and they could have chosen Smith, but basically what Tua said, hey, I know all of these guys better than everybody. I want Waddle, right? Like when your players that knows all of these guys says, hey, I want this guy. I know which guy that I like. Much the way that, Burrow said he wanted Jamar Chase on his team. The same sort of way when Tua goes out and says, I want Waddle on my team. I think that tells you something about the relationship that they have. And if they're together for a while, I think they're going to do good things for a long time.
I get your argument about when Cup coming back, like the targets declining for Puka, but did you see his production in the playoffs? He put up like 10 receptions for 200 yards and a touchdown in a single playoff game. Like when all the chips were on the felt and they needed him most, that's the guy they went to, right? They didn't go to Cup. They went to Puka. Listen, like he's the future, as you said. He's the future. I think, Cup is aging out. He's still a good player, but like Puka's the future. And Stafford's going to target him a lot. He's the few. In my opinion, he's Michael Thomas at 23 years old. So that's why he's so high in my rankings.
Yeah, I think Thomas is actually a good comparison. I don't mind that, and Thomas did have a couple of great seasons by all means. I just feel like I need to see it a little bit more. Let us know what you think, though. Do you like Puka ahead of Waddle? You probably do, because everyone does. But at the same time, are you that high on him? Am I bringing you down a little bit based on my arguments? And where do you stand between Puka and Waddle in the argument? Let us know in the comments section below. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join our Facebook group as well. We have a lot of discussions there. We've also got our rankings there, all sorts of things. Sometimes we do mock drafts through the Facebook group as well. The link to that is in the descriptions below. So click on that and join us there as well. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on another edition of Fantasy Football Freaks.